Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Gershon. I want to welcome you to this session of Humanity Rising as we convene our second of 6 sessions on peace on earth by 2030. As we convene today on Humanity Rising, quite literally at this moment, back in New York at the United Nations building, Secretary General Gutierrez is convening the 2023 General Assembly of the United Nations. It always, by custom, starts on the third Tuesday of the month of September. And then, of course, on the equinox, we have the UN Day of Peace. As we think about peace on earth, it's worth remembering that that was the founding vision of the United Nations itself, when President Roosevelt, in the midst of the Second World War in 1943 and then in 1944, convened in San Francisco at the Fairmont Hotel, the first gathering of nations in what was to become the United Nations. And for the last 75 years, the United Nations, founded to establish peace among the nations, has valiantly done so. But because of its design, because of superpower rivalry and geostrategic competition, the United Nations has foundered in its capacity to bring peace. And as we look around the world today, there are conflicts in virtually every quarter of our world. And like with climate change, the realization has been growing in the public consciousness that the governments left on their own are no longer willing and no longer capable of solving the great challenges that confront humanity as we quite literally teeter on the precipice of self-destruction. So it is up to we, the people, quite literally, whether it's on climate or democracy and a range of other issues, to take the initiative that is required on our own with each other and to work together so collaboratively and to build such a momentum until finally even our governments join the initiative that we, the people, have started. So it's an extraordinary synchronicity, but also profoundly important that we have this initiative emerging around the world to establish peace on earth by 2030. And the fact that it is coming from the people rather than the governments augurs well for its success, even though looking around the world today, it may seem impossible, but that's what moves history, when the impossible becomes possible by human effort and human collaboration. So I just want to welcome everybody to this session, and in the spirit of radical collaboration, turn it over to my very good friend and colleague, Tom Eddington, who's been one of the pillars of Humanity Rising over the last several years and as an integral part of our evolution toward Humanity Rising Network. So Tom, thank you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Jim, and thank you as always for your opening comments. And I'd like to build off of what you've shared. It is up to us to have peace in the world, and I'm happy to share that the future has arrived, and it's arrived early. When David and George and Heidi and I have been working over the last 6 months to put this program together, and sharing about peace on earth by 2030, and I've talked to people outside of these conversations about it, the reaction I've gotten is that that's overly ambitious, it's not possible. And yet when I remind them that we've got roughly 8 billion people on the planet, and 7+ billion of us are living in peace every day, they quickly realize that 2030, why do we have to wait so long? It's actually here now, and it is here now for most of us. And I'm not discounting what's happening in Ukraine. I'm not discounting in any way what's happening with other conflict areas around the world, with over 2 million people incarcerated here in the US, and the challenges that are present. But it's helpful to recognize that many of us do live in peace every day, and that there are gradations of peace. I think the flaw, the mistake that many people make is that when they hear peace, they think of rainbows and unicorns. And while that's sweet peace, and that's a wonderful state that hopefully each of us as humans have a moment in our lifetime to experience, we have peace. And when I say peace, beyond just no conflict, we have peace on a daily basis. And so with that, I'll invite David Gershon into the conversation, co-founder of the Empowerment Institute and the creator or co-creator of the game and this week's programming. So great to have you with us, David, and welcome.
Thank you, Tom. And thank you, Jim, for your beautiful remarks and insights, and for creating Humanity Rising as this amazing platform for us to do good in the world and inspire one another. So let me talk about today. What we are going to be talking about is Action 1 of the Peace on Earth by 2030 game, which we talked about yesterday. But for those that are new, who haven't been here before, let me just give you a little background on the game and our movement, and then a little background on empowerment. And then we have a wonderful panel of 3 people playing the game, or who have played the game in Afghanistan, and how the game is influencing and transforming them as individuals and their communities. It's quite an amazing story. So let me talk a little bit about rainbows and unicorns. Thank you for giving me a whole new set of talking points, Tom, for thinking about what the game can bring. So let me speak to the game's aspiration. The game isn't really just about the reduction of conflict and the stopping of violence, violent wars and violence at large. It's really about creating a different world. It's about creating a set of practices, unitive practices that increase the quality of our life, increase the quality of our communities. And the natural outcome is that we are in a different state of being where peace on earth is the natural byproduct. It isn't so much that we're looking to create peace on earth as we're looking to live in a better way on our planet, with ourselves and with the larger world. And when we do get to that place, some call it, there's lots of names for it. Some call it the golden age. Some call it, the Hopis call it the fifth world. But there's many names. That's the journey we're on. It's a reinvention journey, and it transcends and includes peace on earth. But mostly it's about how to upgrade the quality of our experience living as a human being on this planet. And out of our experience in 1986 with the first Earth Run, where we passed this torch of peace around the world, and wherever the torch went, all wars stopped and the world was united as one, we discovered that there were a certain number of strategies that enabled that. We distilled those strategies into 7 actions, and we distilled the actions into these frequencies, which are the spiritual essence of the actions. And that has become the game. And the game has been played by some 15,000 actions have been taken by some 6,000 people in our pilot, and we're now in the stage of scaling the game. And this is part of our journey, telling the story, so we can get many, many more people to engage. More to be said on how you can engage later. So a little history on today's action. on empowerment. It's the first action of the 7 actions. Over the next week, we'll be doing some of the other actions, one on cooperation, one on unity. So this is the beginning, the foundation. And the empowerment action really is about building our own agency as an agent of change within ourselves and in the world, so that as you play the game, you can feel more empowered and more impactful and learn the skills of empowerment. So that's the rationale for action 1. And a little bit further context, and then I'll be sharing a video that I think distills this, and then we'll go into a conversation with these wonderful, inspiring panelists. So over the last 40 some odd years, my wife and I have built something called the Empowerment Institute. And our vision for the Empowerment Institute was to ask and answer a different question that was being asked, which is not what's wrong with the world and how do we fix it? How do we heal the past? How do we resolve all the problems in the world, which has many, many groups dedicated to those answers. But that wasn't the question that I was interested in, or we were interested in. The question I was interested in was, what's possible? What could the world be if we could create it as we wished it to be? What would the world look like if it was defined by our imagination, not by the definition of the problems? The game has grown out of that. The Peace on Earth movement has grown out of that. The first Earth Run, which was the genesis of the game, has grown out of that. And a body of thinking about social change itself has grown out of that. And the game and the Peace on Earth movement is based on this, which we call theory of change. We call it second order change. So let me build this context because you'll understand the value proposition, if you will, of the game and the movement more easily if you understand second order change and what I call social change 2.0. So a quick tour de force of how civilization is constructed and our challenges right now. So our civilization is a function of many social systems: healthcare, education, political, financial. Those social systems now are deeply stressed for many reasons, climate among others, but there are many reasons causing that. When a social system becomes stressed, it becomes destabilized. It becomes perturbated. It doesn't stay in any one place anymore. It oscillates, it gyrates. And when the system becomes unstabilized, it starts to break down. And when it breaks down, it starts to become unmoored from that which keeps it in place. That is the state of the world right now. Climate is one of the contributors, but it's also the wars that are going on, the polarization going on. There are many different things, the poorly designed systems that focus on a few at the expense of the many. The problem is that when a system becomes destabilized and breaks down, it becomes dysfunctional. But it also, because it's unmoored, can evolve to a higher level of performance and social value. That's called second order change. And second order change is based on a very different approach to change than first order change. First order change is trying to change the world through legislation, through awareness campaigns, through financial incentives and disincentives, and protest. That is the state of play for how people are trying to change the world. We call those first order change solutions. They're incremental at best if they work. The world is facing second order change problems that are needing transformation. We need a different model of change that can enable this kind of transformation. If you can't pay people to change, force them to change, raise their awareness and hope they change, or tell them that they should change and cajole them if they don't, what's left is empowering people to want to change. And how do you do that? You do that by a compelling vision of the possible and the mechanism or the tools to enable that. Peace on Earth by 2030 is such a compelling vision of the possible. The game, Peace on Earth songs, are the tools to enable that. And what we're finding is it's getting a lot of traction. And it's based on this fundamental belief of envisioning what we want and then creating the mechanisms to enable it. So with that said, I want to share a video that I think tees up a little bit of the experience of empowerment. And it also speaks to an initiative, one of our initiatives that our Empowerment Institute Beyond the Game, called Imagine, which is an initiative that empowers women around the world, particularly in the global South, to have the agency to create their lives and their communities the way they wish it. So this is a video of some of those people. My wife has been leading this Imagine initiative, and that has been the foundation. That's how we ended up in Afghanistan in the first place, and then evolved into the game. So I'll share that video, and then we can have a conversation about what's happening in Afghanistan. So let me get myself organized here for the video. 1 second. Okay. The person who created this song is named Kristen Hoffman. Some of you may know her. It's a beautiful, beautiful song. And it has the women from around the world who are engaged in our Imagine initiative, some of which are from Afghanistan.
I am woman, I am grace, I am oneness, I am faith, I am mother, sister, soul, I am present, I am whole, I am peaceful, I am calm, I am love and I belong, I'm supported in my dreams by my empowered family. Human agency, spark that lights our destiny, and I hold the strength in me to imagine and create the life I see. I can live and I can breathe, I can share the best of me, I can learn and I can grow, I can teach and I can know, I can nurture and receive, I can love, I can believe, I can build community with my empowered family. Human agency, spark that lights our destiny, and I hold the strength in me to imagine and create the life I see. To imagine and create the life I see.
Getting out of here, guys. Give me a moment. Okay. So I can, the empowerment of women around the world led us to Afghanistan. I think it was about 2009, someone from our Empowerment Institute said, we need to help see what we can do to empower the women of Afghanistan that were suffering in a profound way under the rule of the Taliban. And so we set out to bring this Imagine and this empowerment work to Afghanistan. And for many years, we were successfully able to implement this program. And in 2016, we discovered Aziz, and he discovered us. Aziz is a force of nature, as you will come to see. And it started something called the Marifat School, which eventually became the Marifat School of Empowerment. And he started to introduce this empowerment idea, which he'll share more about, to his school and his students, one of which is here, two of which are here actually, and it's the next evolution of the Marifat School. And out of that, we then started to realize that the game, the Peace on Earth by 2030 game, was a next natural evolution as we moved from personal agency to community agency. And what better place to pilot it? This was the early stage when we were prototyping it than in Kabul with Aziz and with Sahar, who you'll meet in a moment. So they're going to tell their story of how the game and the empowerment work has influenced them and how it has evolved from the Marifat School, which had to kind of evolve into another form when Aziz had to leave because of the takeover of the Taliban and is now based in the US. So they'll tell their story. And then we also have Fatima, who is literally based in Afghanistan and is literally not able to go to school, and who is now a beneficiary of the work that Aziz is doing and how the empowerment work and the game is influencing her life. So with that said, I would like to invite Aziz and Fatima and Sahar to join us. And I will ask you all some questions. So I am so amazingly excited to see the three of you. And Fatima, you've already become a legend in our world because we've been watching your beautiful artistic videos, which I'll share with everyone later on. And Sahar has been a champion of the game and single-handedly, along with one other person, helped to grow it to hundreds of people in Kabul when she was helping lead it. But I'm going to start with you, Aziz. We have time to have a number of questions and conversation with the three of you, and then hopefully some time with the audience to invite them to share any questions they might have. So I'm going to begin with you, Aziz, and I'm going to ask you a question or two. Let me get myself organized around that. So we met together in 2016, and you began experiencing the power of the empowerment work. And you chose in 2018, when you heard about the game, the Peace on Earth by 2030 game, to bring it to Afghanistan. So let's start with a little bit of your experience of the empowerment work in Afghanistan, and then what inspired you to invite us to do a prototype of the game in 2018 in Afghanistan.
Thank you, David. That's really my honor to be on this prestigious stage today, along with two beautiful souls, which are the product of our empowerment journey. And I think they will be better people to talk about what empowerment means for the children in Afghanistan, especially for the girls. For me, getting introduced to you and the Empowerment Institute in 2016 was something like as a turning moment in my life, because before that I had experienced two things simultaneously in my life. One, as a teacher that has not been in school because of war, because of unrest, beyond grade 5. And I had gone through lots of hardships, ups and downs in my community for around 30 years. And I had experienced the power of education and what transformational education means for a country like Afghanistan. How can you help the community to change their cultural vision and to nurture something which is helping them to a better life? But Empowerment Institute gave me a new kind of template for all these things. Before that, I knew many things, maybe, from the books that I had read, from the people that I had met, from the life that I had experienced, especially from the classrooms with my students. But in the Empowerment Institute, I found something which reformatted everything and my vision and my dreams and my attitudes even towards power, something which is very important in empowerment. In 2018, when you see it was just 2 years or 3 years after we had met in Rhinebeck. In 2018 and 17, Afghanistan was experiencing the harshest times of its life. Why? Because violence had found a new surge in the face of explosions in the schools and in the maternity hospitals and the markets. So nowhere was safe in Afghanistan. And mostly people, they were thinking to flee, even from Kabul, for example. No one was feeling safe. Even in my school, Marifat, we had lots of students and families that they were thinking of fleeing the city because there was no place to be safe. But suddenly, in one of the empowerment sessions that I had, that was the Imagine program with my students, and one of them was Sahar, that she is now here and she will talk about that. And they came with all these worries and anxieties that they had. And I didn't have really a practical answer for them to help them get rid out of that anxiety and stress that they were feeling. I couldn't help them. Just I told them that, yes, these are the people that they have their own ground and they are playing their own game. That is the game of violence, the game of hatred, the game of fanaticism. But we have our own ground and we should play our own game. And that ignited something as an idea, and Sahar and some of her friends, the same day in the class, they said that, do you help us with our game? I told them, yes, if you can. The next day they came and they said that we are dreaming to have a futsal team in our school because it has been our dream as the girls. No one would play futsal in Afghanistan at least the girls. If you help us with that, we will start our own game. I promised them to support them. The next day, they started that, and really that ignited a hope. And that same week, I shared this story with you, and then it came with a very good alignment with the first Earth Run, you know, the experience in 1986, and then you came just 1 week later with the idea of Peace on Earth game by 2013. And Marifat became the first pilot zone since then, and they created the first pilot team, the Peace on Earth team there. And Sahar was one of the initiators of that. After that, Afghanistan and my community that I was working with them, they were starting or they were embarking on a new journey. We saw and experienced many hardships, but never we would feel that we are hopeless and we are facing with a deadlock. Why? Because we were playing our own game, and that was the Peace on Earth game. I think this is all that I can share now. The rest will be better, I think, said by Sahar and Fatima, because Sahar was the team leader in the first Peace on Earth team in Marifat there back in 2018. And she and her friends, they expanded the game. And Fatima is the one, a next generation that this year she joined our group. And 6 months ago or 7 months ago, when I firstly talked to her, she was a hopeless girl, and she was sharing with me just stress, fears, anxieties about her future. And she was thinking of nothing, you know, how to get rid of that situation. And just in 2 months' time, 3 months' time, there was an evolution. And she, her sister, and many other girls, and the empowerment sessions that we had, and the class education programs that we had, they were showing something different for me, for you, and butterfly that tonight will be flying in this screen and maybe in our world as a product of that new experience. And that's all that I can say tonight. I think it's better for me. If you have any other questions for me, please refer them to these two beautiful souls. And most of these questions will be better and answered by them.
I have some more questions for you, but for now, let me move to Sahar. Thank you, Aziz. Thank you for your amazing work. Thank you for being a mentor to these two souls. Sahar, I remember when we first met in 2018, you were so full of I can do it energy. You were already had a lot of agency. And I remember our conversations very, very well when we were having Zoom calls. Tell me what attracted you to the game. Tell me what your experience was playing it. And if you can remember, three-part question, tell me what it was like to organize your fellow classmates to engage. I'll remind you of some of these parts. So just start with what attracted you to the game.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here and see everyone. To start with, what gave me that energy to stand up and want to play for peace and work for peace was the tragedy and the difficulties that were happening at that time back home, and the deep pain that I felt as someone who loved and still loves my country with my entire heart, and to see that my people, my community, and my generation were facing the problems and the challenges that no normal human being in another side of the world would face. And I remember that in one of those attacks, I had several of the people that I knew who were injured. 2 of them were killed. And then I had friends who had lost family members. I had friends who were leaving school. I had friends and family who were not willing to go out in public, even to the mosques, to wedding halls, for shopping, because the city felt too unsafe. It was unsafe to go out. It was unsafe to simply want to live the way that other people in every part of the world get to live. And that pain gave me the anger and rage to question why it should be that way. Because as a 15-year-old, I didn't know how politics worked, and I didn't know what these groups wanted from us, from our people, and from our country. But what I knew for sure was that that was not the way that we were supposed to live. That was not the way life should have been. And some of my friends and I, we were thinking about what we could do in response to what was happening, because for sure, I, as a 15-year-old, could do nothing to change what an extremist group would want from my country. But I could go out and resist and keep studying when they were not allowing us to study. That was my fight. That was my battle, to go out every day to school, to keep talking to my friends, to keep dreaming, and to take action toward making our lives better to the context that I could take action. And that's how I joined the Peace on Earth game in its first session. And I was very determined to play the game, to work for peace, because I knew for sure that the only way to change what was happening was to take action, and nothing would have changed if I was going to sit and watch and give up, because that was exactly what they wanted us to do. They wanted us to give up on ourselves, give up on our studies, and give up on our lives at the end of the day. And to come to your questions about how it impacted my life, as a patriot, and someone who loves her country dearly. I think it was a response that was coming from my heart and my soul to the best of my abilities to do what I could to bring change and empowerment in my country. And as someone who started the game, made a team of my classmates, and then took it to and made it into an organization that was working not only for peace, but also for youth and women empowerment in Afghanistan. I think some of the main things that I have learned has been accountability, hope, and determination. Accountability for our own actions, because as I strongly believe that as long as we are complaining about what's happening to us, we are not taking action about what we can do in response to what's happening to us. And also, I've learned a lot about hope from the people who were in my teams, because in some of my events, I had children who were coming to play the game who were 9 and 10 years old, and they were showing up every week speaking about peace, which even at that time, I was filled with joy, and it was amazing to watch them, to watch and see that determination in each one of them. And I think what the game did for us mainly was the connection and the safest space that it built for us to show up and to take action regardless of what was happening inside the country and also around the world. And I think that's it for now. And if you want to ask more questions or if I missed something.
You are so articulate and so extraordinary. Love your answer. I have one follow-up question, and then we want to go to Fatima. So I remember, so just so everyone knows, this was the beginning. This was not even the game. This was the prototype of just a few of the actions to see what it would be like if this was to work. So we decided to take it to the most challenging place on the planet and see if this idea could go anywhere. And you showed up and you gave me confidence that this was something that actually could work. And I remember our conversation about the first action we were testing, which was on befriending the other, which is an action on oneness. And your experience of befriending the other. And I remember you told me this story, and it was a beautiful story. And maybe you could just share how that was for you when you started to practice that action of befriending the other.
I think that was a very roller coaster type of experience, because there were people who were very open, who had the same attitude and beliefs as I had. And there were also people who were not as excited as I was, which is totally understandable, because if you're living in an environment where if you leave your home in the morning, it would be no guarantee that you're coming back in the afternoon back safely, or if you're going to be alive. It is hard to expect for you to be very optimistic. So I've had people who were amazed when I would tell them about the Peace on Earth game and about how we, even if we were one person at a time, could make an action, because I believed, and I still believe, that if every individual who is listening to us right now, or if every individual out there in the world takes action to work at themselves and make themselves a better person, and then pass that on to other people, it can make something amazing. So with that belief, I moved forward and tried to talk to people, and even to the people who were not optimistic and who were against the belief that it was possible to have peace in Afghanistan. And something that amazed me was how some of the people who at the beginning were very opposed to what we were doing, later on, as we talk to them more, as they see what we were doing, they came to us and they joined us. And I always regard that as one of my biggest achievements in life, to help other people, to help my fellows see what I could see.
Fantastic answer. Thank you. More to be asked and more to be heard from you in a little bit. I'm going to turn to you, Fatima. So Fatima is calling in from Afghanistan. I don't know where you are actually. Are you in? You'll have to tell us when I introduce you where you are in Afghanistan. But so Sahar had a challenge, and that was that whether she came home that night from school was a question mark. So a difficult experience for sure to live in that level of uncertainty and needing to be trusting that I could have a life and could be alive actually. Fatima has a different challenge. Fatima's challenge is that she was going to school and then the Taliban said, you can't go to school anymore. Girls can't go to school. And so whatever your aspirations were unable to be continued. And then you found yourself and Aziz found you, and now you've been part of this experience and you have begun playing the game, and particularly the starting point of the game, which is Action 1 on empowerment. So tell us a little bit about how this empowerment work has influenced you, how it has changed you, and anything else you want to tell us about your experience now. You are the voice of all the girls in Afghanistan now who are having this difficult experience.
Hello to your all beautiful soul. I hope you be all happy and healthy. I'm happy to join you tonight on the empowerment. If I talk clearly about effects of empowerment on myself and my life, that takes time, but I'll talk shortly about it. Empowerment was just like a light for me to clarify what I want and who I am, and to clarify what my inner power is. And yeah, I was born to be a part of this world, but empowerment noticed me that I should not just think about myself, and I should not just work for myself. It told me about the cute connection between me and others' power, and it showed me that this acute connection is going to make the colors more beautiful, and it will make the butterfly flying. And about my learnings about empowerment sessions, actually it was not like a learning for me, because I believe that empowerment is an art, as you wrote in your book, that empowerment is the art of creating your life as you want. And that's the point. Empowerment is an art that's going to create your life as you want, and that's the point. But yeah, it's empowerment can be a learning too, but the least point is but a very small part of it is learning, and the most of it is practicing. And what I practiced in empowerment was very amazing for me. Empowerment told me that empowerment clarified for me that I should not let the pupil to kill that beautiful and colorful butterfly that's inside me and that wants to fly. I should not let anyone to kill that butterfly. And empowerment, now I know the value of myself. Now I know my true self, and now I know that the combining colors needs peace, and it's that's the point.
Thank you, Fatima. You are a poet among many other attributes. And so what is your dream for your life now that you are empowered and empowering others? Tell us what you would like your life to look like.
My dream, I have lots of dreams for my future, but if I tell you my main dream or my biggest dream is to have a life that where there's no fear of being myself and having my own dreams and having my own colorful butterfly. And my dream, it's my dream, a life which I'm happy and a life where I'm respecting the people and the people are respecting me, and I have my own rights.
I like it. And someone wants you to be president. So know that you're now having a lot of people telling you other things to consider about your future. But for now, I think having your dream the way you've described it is a perfect starting point. Thank you, Fatima. You're inspiring. We're going to show one of your beautiful videos later on before we close out, so people can see your artistic capabilities and how beautifully you express yourself through art and through your sort of poetic ways of telling your story. So I'm going to come back to you now, Aziz, and ask you another question. And that is, you have said to me that your vision for the game has had a lot of influence, and your work with empowerment has had a lot of influence on Afghanistan. Tell us what that influence is, and tell us also what you think Afghanistan's influence can be for the world. You are muted, Aziz.
David, I think these two beautiful souls that you heard, they have answered some part of the answer that I have in my mind. Just imagine that in 2030, for example, you are looking at something as a torch that is shining. In 2018, it was around 13 years time, and you were living in the darkest era of your life. But this torch, 13 years later, would ignite a hope inside yourself, inside your vision that you're not alone and the life is not ended. There is something that you can live for. And that attraction point brought not only me, but lots of people around me into action, into a positive action. And that was the meaning of this journey for me. Now, 5 years has passed. Again, there have been lots of better experiences, but for the people that they have evolved a vision for themselves, this 5 years had been new exploration, new, emergence of scopes for their activities. As it is for me, it is for Fatima, it is for Sahar, it is for thousands and thousands more people in my country. For that reason, I think in 2018 and still now, peace is not for me something, as you beautifully mentioned, it is not to end the conflict, it is not to end the war, it is to bring some people at peace with themselves. In our country, I had experienced that how people had been in fighting with themselves, inside themselves for 40, 44 years. They had been traumatized by violence, by hatred, by pessimism, by fanaticism, but they didn't know that it is themselves that is igniting this fire, and this beautiful body that they have, in this beautiful heart is burnt by this fire. For that reason, I think for me, education has been an experience and a transformational experience for myself to get out of this trauma, and it has been a transformational experience for the people who has been around me. Don't forget that I have been a child of war. I have lived in the war. I have carried gun on my shoulder for lots of years, and I have been a victim of war. I have been witnessing the people that they have been torn, to pieces in front of my eyes. So I have been living with war, and through that, to coming out of that trauma and to create a space for yourself that you should be at peace with yourself, and then to help others to be experiencing this peaceful environment, it has been a joyful achievement for me. What I told about empowerment, empowerment gave me a template, something like as a format that how can I put that in a formula that I should really look very clearly about what I want and what the tools and the possibilities and the methodologies I can use to implement something that I want, or to make that dream for myself as a reality. And now I'm very happy that this experience has changed myself before others, because now I am not claiming that I have done something extraordinary for my people, but I can claim that I have done something extraordinary for myself. I have come out of a trauma of war. I have come out of the, that shield that was all the time stifling me with violence, with hatred, with rage, with fear, with lots of negative issues. Now, all these that had turned into limiting beliefs for me and for thousands and millions of other people around me has changed, and the beautiful, image that I have from my growing ages into supporting beliefs. And I can see that how all these problems have become solutions themselves. Don't forget that now, Fatima, for example, she is experiencing empowerment education, empowerment journey in a country that girls are not officially not allowed to go to school, but they have not been tortured, harassed, and restricted at all. Why? Because they have played the game in a way that all people at their surrounding, they have felt them, something that is a natural move, and that is something that should take place. And this is why that they are now talking of their own dreams in a country that everything is organized to kill the dreams. And the surrounding area is full of fears, of pessimism, of negative thoughts. Because of that, I think, David, again, these two ambassadors of our generation, they can represent thousands and thousands of other peers of themselves in Afghanistan, that they have not lost their hopes. They have lost maybe their possibilities. There are lots of restrictions for them, but they have not lost their hopes. They are going to school, they are studying, they are reading, they're talking, they are raising their voices. And the very important point is that they are not thinking of resorting to gun anymore. And that was not something for my generation. For my generation, if you had faced a problem, the first solution or response to your mind would be to take a gun. But now they know that, for example, this nature, this, earth, it has become unfriendly for me. I cannot shoot to the sky to shower me with rain. What should I do with that? Or culture of a community cannot be changed by gun. Or the mentality of my family, my father, my brothers, that cannot be changed by gun. So these are something that the new generation of Afghanistan have gotten. And I think if now we have a mission is to change this experience into a thought, into an awareness, into something, as you mentioned, that as a vision for themselves, to craft their personal agency through that, and gradually moving on to create their community agency as well.
Aziz, thank you. I want to just make a comment, and then I want to move on to Sahar and ask her the same question, and then Fatima the same question. So Aziz, you had a vision. You're still maintaining the vision. You had this vision that even though there is the constraints of the Taliban, you were going to come and bring your light to your country. And you started with a few of these cluster education groups, and now you've expanded to 9 provinces, 4,000 young girls that are having the benefit of this. I just want to honor you for this amazing work. And you've somehow done it with the Taliban's somewhat implicit support. However you pulled that off, that's a whole other story, such that you were able to do this in spite of all of these constraints and how you've worked in the political constraints of that country effectively. A whole other conversation. But we won't have that time for that one right now. But I just want to honor you for your amazing work.
Just one short sentence, I think, because this is a very critical point that you mentioned. David, the way that we have gone with our class education programs, it has been an experience for thousands and thousands throughout the country. Officially, yes, there are some restrictions, but people, because they have lived with education, lived with awareness, with books, with studying for 20 years, and they are now breathing with education. And Taliban have shown that they are not really as rigid in that regard, because in Kabul you have hundreds of centers, in Kandahar you have, in Jalalabad you have, in all parts of the country. So our students, they have one, I think, blessing point here, that they have empowerment. They have the Peace on Earth game team behind them, and they are enjoying the support of the people that they are articulating this experience of them into something very visionary journey. Otherwise, in Afghanistan, I'm very happy that my dream, my vision, and my optimism is shared by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. They are still in Afghanistan. And the good point is that Taliban officially, yes, they have banned schools, but they have not gone to every lanes and streets and centers to stop people, even to get books. This is something, I think, which makes it a paradoxical situation in Afghanistan. I do not look at its political aspects, but in the eyes of a civic educator, I feel that is a very positive, thing which is happening in my country, because these girls especially, now they know that how to carry on the light of education with themselves in the darkest era of political, cultural, maybe even geopolitical context that they are living in.
Thank you for that clarification, Aziz. Yes, helpful to get some more of the nuance. So Fatima, Sahar, then we'll go to Fatima. So you are a visionary. We have this beautiful video of you telling your dream for the world and your dream for Afghanistan. So tell us a little bit about your vision for how the game can impact Afghanistan and how Afghanistan can influence the world, because it's not just that this game is in service and the work we're doing is in service, and the amazing people that are responding so beautifully are just in relationship to something coming to the country through the work that Aziz and others are doing, but also what can Afghanistan show the world? What can your fellow students and fellow citizens show the world?
Sahar,
Sahar, you're muted.
I thought the question was for Fatima.
No, I was for you, Sahar, and then I'll go to Fatima afterwards.
Thank you. First of all, I think for me, from the experiences that I've lived, from traveling across the world, from leaving my homeland, I think of Afghanistan and the people of Afghanistan as the most resilient people that there is and there could ever be. And I think with the current situation, even though that it is definitely a remarkable act and a very impactful act to have class education in Afghanistan, but still there are millions of girls in Afghanistan who do not have access to high school education. There are millions of people in Afghanistan who do not have access to basics, necessity of lives, who are not able to live the life that a normal human would live just because they live in Afghanistan. And these people, the same way that we do not have anything to do with political groups, these people are the same. And they're also not involved with any of the governments, but they are the people who are the victim in the first line. They are the girls who cannot go to school. They are the men and women who have lost their jobs throughout the past 2 years. And I think it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing that people still have the resilience to show up, that girls in the class education still have the resilience to go out there and study. And I think the resilience of the people in Afghanistan is not enough to make a change, because what's happening right now in Afghanistan is beyond only the people of Afghanistan. I think it takes collective action, not from governments, but from us, from individuals, wherever we are in the world, to first of all educate ourselves, to learn about what's happening in Afghanistan and see what we can do as one individual and how we can pass on what we can do to other people. So I think if we can get enough people to learn about Afghanistan, to learn about what is happening to women in Afghanistan, and if we can get enough determined people who are willing to take action, to stand for humanity, to stand for Afghanistan, then we can have peace. And when we speak about peace, I totally agree with what Ustad Aziz mentioned about how our definitions of peace are very different, because peace here in the US is more about finding harmony and living in peace. But in Afghanistan, it's more a matter of survival, because how are people supposed to survive if they do not have the basic necessities of life? And how can they even think about peace when they don't know if they are going to live to the next week, if their resources are going to go out, and if they don't have jobs to support themselves? So I think it's a lot about how humanity can stand together to stand for Afghanistan and to take action and stand with us, with the people of Afghanistan, about what is happening to us at the moment.
Thank you. Thank you, Sahar. So Fatima, same question. So the question is, what is your vision for how the game can impact Afghanistan and how Afghanistan can influence the world?
So I was born where is war, where's saffron, where's hatred. It was as a Hazara Afghan girl, the need of peace is just like the need of water for me. We have the dream of a peaceful Afghanistan, where there's no Taliban mind and such a things. And I believe that if we prevail the peace in Afghanistan, and if we play the peace game in Afghanistan, we will be able to embrace diversity, and we will be able to support one another. And we are in the dream of a peaceful Afghanistan. And I saw thousands of girls that they are dreaming, they have the same dream with me, with us, and and I think that today we are here to change this dream into reality, and we are committed here to change this dream into reality. And I believe that we can make Afghanistan the land of peace.
And what do you think Afghanistan's role can be for the world? You have said it, I think, well at some point, which is there's so much darkness, but there's so much opportunity to be the light. Speak more to that idea.
Yeah, the idea of being the star or being the light in the darkness.
Yes.
So if I talk about it, that's if I talk about it, that's a good point actually, and where is the darkness? I believe that we can have the stars, as you said, the opportunities that we have, and but the light. But I believe that the light, the star that wants to shine, will never be stopped by the darkness. And I believe that peace is just like a good smell that if you use it, you're not the only one who is taking the advantages of this good smell. Others are also going to use this. Others are also going to take the advantages of this good smell. And I believe it like this. And I believe that I don't hate them, or I don't afraid of them. I'm in Taliban, but I love them, but I expect to be loved by them as well. I respect them, but I have the expectation of that they respect me also. And that was all my idea about it.
Thank you. It's a beautiful idea. And so I remember, I think you said something, and I just want to build on this one idea. And I think some of your other colleagues may have said this as well. And I know that I've had these conversations with Aziz and Sahar, and that is that if this can be born, if this kind of star can be born in Afghanistan, a place that has had so much pain and so much suffering and so much violence, and we in the West get very complacent and with our comfortable lives and don't think about getting out of our comfort zones very often. You're always out of your comfort zone. But if Afghanistan can do this, then why can't the rest of the world do this? How can Afghanistan be a role model to the world of resilience, of being able to hold a positive vision in spite of all the challenges, of being able to work actively and engage? That to me is a vision that I know is very much present in your heart. And I've heard you say that in Sahar, and I've heard her say that in Aziz and many of your other amazing colleagues. So I just wanted to lift Afghanistan in the light of what you all represent right now for all the rest of us. And thank you for being such role models. So we have time just for a final comment or two, if anyone has any final words. I'm going to start with you, Fatima, and then we'll work to Sahar and then Aziz. Any final thoughts you want to offer to us from your wisdom, your young wisdom, an old soul in a young body?
Yeah. So now I'm 14 years old, and I'm living under the Taliban's government, but I'm studying empowerment lessons, and it's 2023. Yeah? In 2030, I'll be 21 years old, and I'll celebrate that big movement with you. And on that time, I'll get. I think that time I'll be at college. Yeah, and but I'll have my butterfly as well, my colorful butterfly, my colorful ideas, and I believe that till 2030, my butterfly will be my inspiration to continue to come over the challenges, come over the hardships of life, and I'll be there.
We're counting on you. You are not just a butterfly for your life and your country, but you are a butterfly for the world and humanity. We need you to just continue. I'm going to share at the very end your beautiful butterfly video so people can understand. When you say butterfly, it has a very specific meaning.
Yeah,
So
I think she's kept keeping everyone at awe that what this butterfly is.
yeah, everyone, I know
about.
this is like a setup for this. It's like the trailer, and we'll see the little film in a bit. Sahar, your final thoughts.
I think this would be kind of the repetition of what I said in the beginning, but I want to say it again. I want to say that for everyone who is watching us right now, and the people who are going to watch us on later on. I want you all to know that the power and impact of the little actions that you take are actually not little, because every big thing, every big impact starts with the smallest steps, whether that is about peace or that's about something that's going on in your own personal life. So take those small actions, and I'm sure that one day you're going to get to the big steps. And that includes learning more about what's happening in Afghanistan and standing with Fatima, standing with all the girls in Afghanistan who are banned from going to school and having their basic rights. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Sahar. Aziz.
Yes, I have some very short points to some direct audiences that I feel. One, to the Taliban who are ruling my country. They have stabilized Afghanistan after 44 years of unrest, and they call that peace. I ask them that they should offer that peace and to the most deserving people of Afghanistan, the girls and women, through the basic need that they have, education. Let them go to school officially. Doesn't matter what the quality of education is. Just when the girls, they have the freedom to go to school, that is a lot that they can offer. That is the beginning of peaceful Afghanistan, even from the eyes of the Taliban as well. For my people, people of Afghanistan, that most of them, they are just individuals, ordinary individuals, that they have very human expectations from their government, from all the power around the world, that they should really play their own game and do their own part of the job. One is that if they need peace, they should respect peace inside themselves. If they need education, they should do that education and apply that inside their homes for their very, very first-hand people inside their families, their daughters, their sons, and their siblings. And for my empowerment friends and comrades who are now joining us in this Peace on Earth game, that they should look at Afghanistan not from the perspectives and the eyes of some political leaders or the governments, but from the eyes of imaginary people, that they are envisioning peace for 2030 for all corners of the world. That they should look at Afghanistan as something, as a shared responsibility. Afghanistan is now facing and suffering a very harsh time, especially a humiliation, a suppress when it is stifling the women and girls of Afghanistan. It is unbelievable. A gender apartheid is taking place there, that officially girls cannot go out, they cannot go to school, they cannot go to park, and they do not have even the basic rights of themselves. So this is, I think, an international call that our empowerment and the people who are in the Peace on Earth game by us, they should look at Afghanistan as something tangible mission for themselves. And they should think individually and collectively that what can they do to raise their voices to end this apartheid, gender apartheid in Afghanistan, which is not acceptable for no one in the world, and for the international community at large, because now Afghanistan is part of this bigger global family that we have. An international community, all the superpowers, the United Nations and others, I think they should take Afghanistan as a responsibility for themselves, that what is the role of the international community for one part of their body, which is 40 million people, and now they are suffering from hardships. They are restricted from all sides, and they are stifled by something which is not acceptable. And these four audiences, for me, I think can bring a change. And if we are looking for a bigger piece in 2030, some of the practical steps can be taken now. I, Fatima, Sahar, David Gershon, George, and all these people that we have, we are doing our job, but I think this mission is as big that it needs a collective responsibility and action. This is my final comments, and I think you will have better closing remarks for this session, because we are owing you and we are owing Fatima here for this very big moment, and to celebrate this very prestigious occasion for our generation in Afghanistan.
Aziz, I don't know that I'm going to have better closing remarks. I think those are the closing remarks. I will comment on them, and then I want to share the butterfly, and then we'll have a few moments for any comments, and then we'll continue on in the after chat for those that might wish to continue these conversations. If you can join us, Aziz, Sahar, Fatima, you may, I don't know. What time is it there for you, Fatima? What time of day?
It's 9
I think
o'clock.
you're mute. Yeah.
It's 9 o'clock at
Okay.
night.
Can you stick around afterwards to be part of a larger conversation with the community if you have time?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll make sure to give you the link so you can go to that. And maybe someone could put it in the chat, then we can all go and continue having a dialogue with the three of you. We only have a few more minutes left in this formal session. So let me share this butterfly video that I've been threatening to share with you. That is this beautiful thing that has put you in my heart. And you've been talking about the butterflies. So let me get that organized here. And then we can look at your butterfly story.
Me and Butterfly. I'm a dreamer. I have the dream of a peaceful life where there is no fear of being myself and having my own dreams. For sure, Taliban wants to keep me in darkness and kill my dreams, to just keep me silent. But I know that my colors can speak louder than my words and my voice. Playing with the colors is just like playing piano. First of all, I learn the rules, then I'm going to forget them, and finally I start playing that with my heart. Because of this I love piano and colors. Sumaya asked it, why you're drawing this butterfly this much colorful? I answered it, see, isn't it beautiful? Although the colors are different, but they look so beautiful together. And they're not fighting. They have peace. They're not fighting because of their different shade. Instead, they accept the difference. My butterfly was made from hope. I imagine this butterfly flying, and I go with this butterfly from traveling from dark days to beautiful, nice, and peaceful days. Like just your friends. There is a strong will of drawing my life with hopeful colors inside me right now. I know what I want. I know clearly what I want. So every morning I wake up excited about life. I know that for being able to change my dreams into reality, first of all, I should be able to water the seeds, not the weeds. So, I should have the ability to clarify seeds from weeds. I dream boldly. I have everything I need within myself to achieve my highest ambitions. Everyone has their own butterflies to fly with. What is your butterfly?
Fatima, we love you. You're amazing. Thank you for being who you are. 14 years old, amazing. 21 and 2030. Can't wait. We want to be on your journey with you and follow your adventures. And we want to follow the evolution and the transformation of your country. And I know you will play a big role in that. So we will have time for more follow-up a little after in a little bit, but we have time for maybe a question or two or a comment or two if anyone wishes to share and ask any questions of anyone. You have a moment. Celia has her hand up. Celia, please. Celia, we see you. You can go get off mute and then we can hear you if you want to say something. Celia, you're on mute.
Please unmute yourself.
Maybe we can unmute her.
I don't have the ability to do that.
Okay. Well, Celia, unfortunately, we can't hear you. You are on mute. If you can unmute yourself, we'd love to hear your comments. If not, we'll see if there's anyone else that wants to share anything. Let's see. Doesn't seem to be anyone else at the moment. Last call. Okay. So those that might be inspired, come join us in the after chat. But let me just invite Miranda. We've been talking a little bit about the game and the Peace on Earth by 2030 movement. Miranda is the game manager. She will also be speaking on Thursday about a second action on empowerment, on cooperation. So Miranda, tell us a little bit for those that have been inspired by Aziz and Fatima and Sahar to play the game, what the opportunities would be, and also what else is happening this week. What's the rest of our week look like?
Yeah, thank you, David. And thank you, Sahar and Fatima and Aziz. I love you all so much. And it's always so inspiring to hear your stories. And, you know, Aziz and Sahar, watching you for so long and being such empowerment and peace warriors, just never stopping. So thank you for all of you, for your beautiful spirits. I would say in the chat, we've had a lot of questions about what about men, what about boys, and definitely the program does help in many parts of the world with boys and men as well. Even Alisina is one of the boys who started when he was 15, 16. He's about 20 now. He started with Sahar, and we invited him to speak today too, but he couldn't. But some of his stories are amazing as well. And in Africa and everywhere, a lot of what's happening now with the empowerment program, as David said, is that people are playing the peace game now with it. The first action of the peace game is the empowerment work, and then going into the rest of the game as you help affect peace in your life, peace with your family, your coworkers, your community, and globally we do that. So everyone can play, youth and adults, men and women, boys and girls. We talked a lot more about the game yesterday, but just to invite everyone in, the website is peace2030.earth. You can click on the About section and see more about the peace game. There's a lot of videos, there's a lot of descriptions there. And throughout this week, we will continue to present about deeper and deeper levels of the actions of the game, empowerment being one of them, which is why we focused on that today. We do have a global online version of the game that will start again in January. We're just finishing one round right now. Anyone can come in and play that with us. There will be multiple times a day that it happens each week when the meetings happen, so that people can join from around the world. October 11th will be our next official info session to learn how to be a team leader if you're wanting to do that in your community, how to start a Peace on Earth zone, or how to join the global game that starts in January. So all of that can be found on peace2030.earth/events, all of our events for this week and the info session and joining in January. I'll put that in the chat as soon as I finish speaking as well. But please do join us. And we're still here in the morning with Humanity Rising every morning this week, talking about a different action of the game. Friday, we have a big presentation from all of our leaders in Africa that are coming in and helping us spread to all of the countries in Africa. It'll be a really amazing and touching event on Friday. And that's at noon Eastern time. On Saturday, we're the closing ceremony of the Peace Week ceremonies, and we'll be closing out the 99 Days of Peace that day. We've been in action since World Unity Week for the 99 Days of Peace, and we'll recap everything that happened with the global online game, all the partnerships, the amount of actions taking, which is in the thousands now with just the global online game members that are playing right now. Yeah, and just, you know, you'll hear from people from all over the world in that event, and a big call out and invite as many people as we can to play globally and, you know, host teams in their own communities.
Thank you, Miranda. Let me just say one more thing about our Friday event. So Friday, we are partnered with the African Union. This has begun in 2018, and Sahar, when you were saying this is something I want to do, and you were giving me confidence that this game was more than just this crazy idea that this guy has, that it really could have impact. And after that, we went on to see that many, many more people got value as you had. And so now we have the good fortune to be partnered with the African Union, and they want to see if Africa can be the first continent, 55 countries, to demonstrate peace on earth by 2030. So look what has come out of this moment when we were all just had gleams in our eyes about the possibility. And Africa hopes that they can also be a role model to the world, not unlike the way you have been in Afghanistan, and will continue to be 4,000 strong. I mean, you have the strongest contingent of people playing the game of anywhere by far. So keep up the good work. Aziz, keep up the good work. Fatima, we want to become butterflies like you. I've shared that with my wife. She wants to be a butterfly. We all want to be your butterfly friends. Thank you. Over to you, Tom, to close this out.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you so much, Aziz and Sahar and Fatima. It's been just amazing to have you with us today. I've been watching the chat, and people have been talking about resilience. They've been talking about courage. They've been putting lots of attributes on each of you for what you've done. And just a question for each of you, if you can go back to the very moment when you were introduced to the possibility, perhaps there was fear that showed up in you, perhaps there was excitement. I'm just wondering if you just quickly each share, when you think about that first moment when you saw that this was possible, what was present for you?
Fatima, please start you, because you are the youngest.
So it was so exciting for me. The first session, it was really amazing for me, and I feel when I see that it's possible to have peace, and it's possible these ideas we can change them into reality. It was a feeling that I can't tell it, and that was a great feeling. And I'm so happy to be a teeny part of this big movement.
Thank you.
That was all.
Thank you. Sahar.
For me, it was, I think the main thing that I can remember was courage. I knew that it would be difficult. I knew that it would be very challenging, but I also knew that I wanted to do it, and it was important to be done. And if I was not going to do it, who was going to do it? So that question pushed me to start working, and here we are. It brings me joy, and it makes me almost tear up to see how far we have come, regardless of how everything that's been happening. And I'm just so proud and honored to be part of this.
And for me, it was just a search, I think, because I was on the move and very difficult situation in my country, as I was moving on terrains, with lots of fears, anxieties, but I had experienced how to travel. But empowerment, and especially when it came to the Peace on Earth game, it opened something more clear for me, that I felt that we are no longer alone. Afghanistan, most of the time, has been experiencing these hardships, but most of the time, it has not really believed in the real harmony with the world. It has felt that some powers that are coming to the country, they have their own agendas, and they have been just used for the games of the others. But for me, empowerment, Peace on Earth game was something different. And none of my students, they have been looking at David Gershon, for example, or some other people that they are people outside of this country. They're feeling that they are inside the country. They are part of the game. And I was sharing my anxieties, my fears, my even flaws of the work in very difficult times, in a very smooth way with David Gershon. In 2016-17, we had two very big demonstrations which took place in Afghanistan that was not seen in the history of the country. And one of them, hundreds of thousands of students went even to the palace for the first time. And the next one, nearly 1 million people. Then it expanded throughout the world as in the name of the Enlightenment movement. And that was a very bitter experience as well, because when the people came out, they faced with a very negative reaction from the government, from the authority, and hundreds of people, they lost their lives in a peaceful demonstration. And I had many of my friends that they were blown up in front of my eyes there. I shared that experience with David Gershon, and when he came, and especially with this definition of pathological approach and vision-oriented approach, and said that solutions doesn't come out of the problems, it comes out of the visions. If you take one step behind, it was a very good definition of him, for me, and look everything in a context, you see that there are ways that you can tackle with. And these kinds of support, I can say that the lightning supports for me helped me to resist in the very fearful times of my life. Hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands and thousands of people, really, they lost their hopes. They faced with frustration after that demonstration. But I was still not only hopeful, but I had found more clues and more symptoms to believe on this peaceful path that we had taken in front of us. Because of that, I think for me, Sahar, Fatima, and hundreds of other girls and boys in my school and in the community that I had, they are the embodiment of that experience of me. And when I go back to that moment, I just look again very willfully, very, with lots of good visions to 2030. And still, I believe that in 2030, we will have Afghanistan one of the most peaceful countries and lands in the world. I believe in that, and I have not been in doubt for that at all. And I'm sharing that with my students, with all the friends of mine, that look, 7 years we have there, and 7 years, if you make a strategy for yourself, and in every steps of you just befriend with one person and then spread the light, and any other person becomes a new dream keeper, and then goes on and goes on and goes on. 7 years, each year 365 days, and each of the days has 24 hours. Look what happens. Yeah. And I have seen that in the faces of these smiling and bright girls, that thousands of them now, they are shining in the enough on the sun. And I'm sure that one day they will have a very good message for the ruling, authorities of the country as well, as they have shown that. And they will tell them that how can they also be part of this game, because Taliban, they are not different from Pakistani rulers. They are not from your rulers in the United States, or for example in Germany. They are all from the same folk. Yeah. They're from the same tribe. They're just playing with power, with gang, with many. But Fatima, Sahar, and their peers, they're showing them something easier. Yeah, that they can do something better without any effort of this kind, without losing and wasting so much energy, time, and resources. They can do something very beautifully. And my last point, let me tell you that the cost of each student and my class of education per month, that they receive 5 subjects every day, that they're taking that, and they receive 2 empowerment sessions. That is just $2.6 per month. $2.6 per month. We pay just 6,000 hours for our tutors, and that is all. And with that, hundreds and hundreds of girls, they are taking this light every day to their families. And look at that. With 2, once I had made a proposal for, and I shared that with David Gershon, and he told me a very, very subtle point. He said that this proposal that you have made, it is not the price of a coffee for these people. Don't show that with them, because they do not believe in you. And really, I took that out because that price of coffee was everything for me. That price of coffee was for me, 4,000 girls in my country, that every day they were joyfully coming to the class. They were taking something as a smile, as a light, and they were taking back home, sharing that with their family members. Yeah. So for me, this is an inspiring journey. This is something that I call that an affirmation. And this is something as I call that empowerment.
Well, thank you all for each of you for being the bright lights that you are in Afghanistan, in your communities, and in the world. It's what's necessary. It's what's required to help remind each of us that we are hardwired for collaboration and cooperation and nonviolence, and that's who we are as a species. And so, thank you for being exemplars and examples of that. David, just a final question for you, and it was from Dahana Rice. Dahana asked, if peace is a way of writing our consciousness and a byproduct, how does the universal fields information play a role in informing humanity and elevating life now and in the future? How do we access and contribute to it?
That is a great question. So part of the way the universal field is built is through something called morphogenesis, which is a collective set of beliefs that then go into representing the consciousness of humanity. Every action that any of us takes starts to contribute to that. Part of the game's vision is that when we have 40 million people, which is 1/2 of 1% of humanity, representing this intention like Aziz holds so firmly, like Sahar holds so firmly, like Fatima and all the 4,000 girls who are beginning to play and all the other people playing around the world hold so firmly, as I hold, as Miranda holds, then we start to create a new, shall we say, intervention in the universal field and the collective consciousness of humanity. It isn't just about consciousness. It's not just about intention, because we're also acting on that. So that's where behavior and consciousness fit together. And so we have to take the actions which reinforce the thoughts and the feelings and the intentions. So can we do it? I would say it is inevitable if we get enough people to play. And what I would say to all of you is that you are not just a drop in the bucket. You are an extraordinary, powerful part. You each have thousands of people that you could influence. And if you choose to join us, you could have an impact. I said to Jim Garrison the other day and to the team, Humanity Rising itself could actually turn the dial, move the dial, if enough Humanity Rising people and if Humanity Rising partners really said yes. So that's my thought on that. And I look forward to seeing Humanity Rising. Yes, a double entendre here. And the Humanity Rising network that you represent, which is the next evolution, really stepping up into this next role to start to really move the dial, which of course we can and already are. My thoughts.
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you all for being with us today. And it's an exciting week. It's been fun working with you, David, over the last several months to pull this together. For those who are watching and didn't get a chance to watch the program yesterday, we would encourage you to go back on YouTube or the Humanity Rising website or the Ubiquity University website to watch yesterday's program. Please join us again tomorrow for another really enlightening conversation on how we get to peace by 2030. It's not some pipe dream. It's real, it's possible, and it's up to us. So thank you all.
See you soon, everybody, in the after chat. Bye.
Yeah. Thank you. And we'll be in touch. I think there were some questions about how to support our programs. We will talk about that in the chat room.
Okay, bye, everybody.